It's 11 o'clock in Toronto and Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to get started. And just a few words about who we are at Wheel and Anchor, what this is all about for those of you who are new to us. The idea sort of came up after a couple of decades in the business that I spend organizing trips for Canadians to points all around the world. And what I really noticed the more I traveled with people, not just from Canada, but from all kinds of different places, that, you know, when you have a group of like-minded people that travel together, the whole experience is one where, you know, people gel with one another, and, you know, it's very sort of easygoing. I always like to say it's like traveling with a bunch of friends, and that's kind of how we envision this community. And I know a lot of our members have made some great friendships along the way while experiencing all these different places that we have to visit. And so that, of course, is our mission, which is to become well-traveled and well-connected. You can see the happy faces of a bunch of our members here on a recent trip that we did. It's all about this camaraderie, companionship that you get, connection to other people, not just from within the group, but to all the places that we go along the way. And so that's really what the philosophy behind what we're doing at Wheel and Anchor. So let me introduce the team. My name is Gordon. I am the founder of Wheel and Anchor, and we couldn't do all these amazing things without a team of specialists. Paula is one of our two senior trip specialists who are there to answer any questions that you have and get you signed up for one of our tours, hopefully this one or one of our many other trips. So today I'm going to be taking you, obviously you have interest in what Southern Italy is all about in this itinerary we put together, and I'm going to be your guide. We're going to do this little digital tour today, all through Campania, a little bit of Basilicata and Puglia, these southern regions of Italy. So just to familiarize yourself on the map with where all of this is, if you look at the inset here at the top left, of course, we're talking about the bottom of Italy's so-called boot. This is the area that we're focused on. We're going to begin this journey in Naples. Now, this trip, as with many of our trips, runs sort of concurrent with another trip. So immediately previous to this, we have our live-away in Sicily. We have two different live-aways in Sicily, one on the east coast in Syracuse, and one on the north coast in Cefalù. And from Cefalù, you can take a ferry across to Naples from Palermo and join us for this trip. And then following this trip, we also have our Tuscany tour, which I'm actually going to be talking about today, right after this one at noon Eastern time. So in case you didn't get all of them. So you can do this trip and Tuscany and take in sort of some of the best of Italy, or you can do Sicily as well. You could do them back to back to back. So this trip, as I say, will begin in Naples. We're going to spend one night here to gather everybody, those that fly in from Canada, as well as those that perhaps join us, as I say, from Sicily. And then after that, we're going to be heading down here to the Sorrentine coast. So this peninsula that you see here on the sort of northwestern side is so-called Sorrentine coast, and on this side is the famous Amalfi Coast. You can see Amalfi down here. We're staying in a town called Vico Equense. I'm going to tell you about that in just a moment, where we can explore Capri, Sorrento, the Amalfi Coast itself, as well as Pompeii, Mount Vesuvius. So really all of the amazing things. This is the optimal place to stay. Then after a bunch of nights there, we're going to cross the bottom part of the boot, if you will, towards the top of the heel. We're going to stop in Matera, which I'm excited to tell you all about. I visited it for the first time just about a month ago. And we are going to stay at a wonderful masseria outside of Locorotondo, here in the heart of the Itria Valley, which is kind of the place to go in Puglia. And from here, we're going to tour a little bit around this area and then spend the last few nights down in Lecce, which is at the bottom of the heel, almost at the very end. We'll spend a couple of nights in this wonderful Baroque city. And from here, the trip will terminate either by flying out of nearby Brindisi or taking the train back up to Rome or to Florence or what have you. So that's the overview of our, the geography, if you will, of our trip. So yeah, now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we're going to be seeing and doing and experiencing on this trip. So as I said, we are arriving into Naples, a big, giant city. In fact, it's one of the longest inhabited cities in the world. It has a tremendous amount of history. Naples is a bit of a gritty city. It's the kind of place that, you know, you can spend a few hours or a night. In this case, it's very convenient, and it's wonderful to sort of get a glimpse of. But for me personally, I think for most people, sort of a half a day there is enough. And there's so many things that you can see and do. We don't have any organized programming, but we're staying in a lovely spot right down in the old town of Naples, from where you can wander around, perfectly safe to do so, and explore what all this interesting things that the city has to offer. A great place to sort of get settled. If you really want to go into Naples in a little bit more depth, you could certainly come a day earlier. A lot of our members like to fly in a day early and spend more time there. There's an amazing archaeological museum that I have not been to, but I've heard great things about. And so that's what's going to happen in Naples. And then the next day, as I mentioned, we are then going to go from Naples, which on this picture here is right over to the very left. This is Mount Vesuvius in the background. We're going to be heading here to a town called Vico Equense, which is about a 9-minute train ride, or about anywhere between a 20 and 40 or 60-minute car ride from Sorrento, which is, of course, the principal city that you're all familiar with. And so this is the optimal time when I want to tell you a little bit about Vico Equense and why we've opted to stay here. Because, of course, the Mecca where everybody goes is Sorrento, which is just a little bit further down the coast. But the feedback we got from the last couple of trips we did to Sorrento is, are there any Italians that live here? Which, you know, of course there are, but it's become such a tourist, it's on the verge of really over tourism, in the sense that, you know, everybody that's around you all the time are sort of tourists. So, you know, although it is a lovely town and we will be visiting it, I think that the more authentic place to stay is here in Vico Equense. And specifically, I've identified this beautiful 5-star resort hotel that sits up on a hill, basically with almost the view that you see here. It's a little bit further over to the left, overlooking the Bay of Naples, Mount Vesuvius. It is wonderful. It is just a spectacular spot. And from here, as I say, we can and we will transfer over to the train station, and it's a 9-minute train ride into Sorrento. We'll probably do that by car and taxi as well. And we are much closer, because the other thing that we found about Sorrento is the traffic, as well as the whole Amalfi Coast, is kind of insane, even in April, which is the early part of the season. And so here we are that much closer to being able to visit Pompeii. We can spend more time there because we will have saved at least an hour of driving time just by being that much further along the coast. So this is, in my opinion, and I was there, I stayed in Vico Equense just last month, the place to stay. While we're there, we're going to be accompanied by our wonderful local guide. This is Ornella. She's been with the last couple of groups that we've had in Amalfi, in this area, in Sorrento area, and she's amazing. She's really so knowledgeable, so interesting, so engaging. We just had a marvelous time with her, and I know that our members that were on our trip will remember her fondly. So she's going to be the one that's going to be showing us around while we are in this area. The first thing that we're going to do is head out, as I showed here on the slide, to the Amalfi Coast, and we're going to be doing it by private boat. So as those of you who know me and have been on trips with us before, every time we do something, we try to do it a little bit better the next time, a little bit the next time. And that's why we've finally ultimately decided to visit the Amalfi Coast by private boat. We're not going to be doing it by road this time. Not that the scene from the road it has some beautiful scenery as well, but unfortunately the traffic sort of trumps all of that. So going by road, you cross over the mountains here, basically down into Positano, and you go along this stretch of road, which is very beautiful, but there's so much time you spend in the car versus what you can spend enjoying the coastline. So we're doing it by private boat, which will go all the way around the end of the Sorrento Peninsula. And then we'll actually hug the coast as we go past Positano, Amalfi, and some of the other smaller towns that the Amalfi Coast is so famous for. So this is going to be a wonderful day. I'm sure you've probably seen images of the Amalfi Coast before. All these villages just literally go right up the cliffs. It is truly spectacular, and it's best viewed from the sea, from a boat. So we will probably go all the way to Amalfi itself and spend an hour or two there, depending on how long we want to cruise along in the boat. And then we'll backtrack a bit and stop in Positano, where we will enjoy lunch. Positano is probably the most famous, the most celebrated town in the Amalfi Coast. A great place to stop for lunch. You will already see throngs of tourists there as well, so you'll know why the traffic is as heavy as it is, and you'll be happy that we embark on a boat for a leisurely trip, then back along the Amalfi Coast to get back, as I say, around the peninsula and back to Sorrento. All in all, an amazing day. This is we did it literally just in May, so sorry, it was the end of April, and it was just fantastic. Same time as we're going on this trip. So another trip that we're going to do from Vico Equense, we're going to visit Piano di Sorrento, which is actually the next town in between Vico Equense and Sorrento, and we're going to go up into the hills. All of these towns sit on these beautiful sides of the mountains that lead up from the sea, and we're going to visit the Gargiulo family. And they basically have like an organic farm and produce all kinds of wonderful, they've got all kinds of, olive trees and lemon trees and all the things that the region is known for, but they particularly focus on their dairy products, in particular their cheese. So we're going to have an opportunity there to work with the burrata master and learn how to make the pure burrata, which is like the mozzarella. And of course, you'll know that if you've visited Italy before, the Italians prefer their mozzarella if it is literally made that morning. That's the only way to eat fresh mozzarella. So we're going to obviously have that opportunity to do that. In fact, we're going to make it ourselves, which is a terrific experience, and have a wonderful lunch up there in the hills with the family, and it's a wonderful day. In the afternoon, after all of that, we're then going to head into town, into Sorrento. So we're going to walk off a little bit of lunch. We're going to wander around, have a little bit of a tour from Ornella, and then we will have time to either enjoy dinner in Sorrento if you still have any appetite left, or we'll make our way back to the hotel. So a great day once again. We're then going to spend a day visiting Capri and Anna Capri, which is the village that sits on the top of the mountain, Capri. These are truly, it's truly spectacular. Once again, we are going to be doing this by private boat because the experience we had going on the public hydrofoils is frenetic, to say the least, even in April. So we have chartered a boat that will take a small group of us. This is a small group trip. Actually, we can only have a maximum of 16, likely more like 12 people on this trip, somewhere between 12 and 16. And we're going to have our own boat. It's going to take us over to Capri, where we are once again going to meet Ornella, and she's going to show us around the town, which is of course adorned with all the luxury shops, because of course this is the island where the rich and famous, as you will have their summer homes. So it's quite a place to see. And then you go up to the top in Anna Capri, and you can take a chairlift ride up to the top of the summit and look out over the incredible. It's a rather amazing place to visit. So we'll have a great day there again, as I say, on our private boat experience. We're then going to head back to Pompeii, which obviously sits at the base of Mount Vesuvius and was buried, as I think we will remember from history books, back in 79 AD when Mount Vesuvius erupted. And it's a fascinating historic site. It is as good as it's described. You can't always say that about ruins, as it were, but it is truly, truly interesting. And Ornella does an amazing job of sort of weaving the story of the people whose lives they were able to uncover even all those years back. And you can see the houses that they lived in. It's remarkable, remarkable sight. We will then have a wine tasting lunch at a beautiful spot on the side of Mount Vesuvius that we had a lunch at this year. A terrific trip, terrific experience. And then we will go up to Mount Vesuvius. For those that don't wish to, you're welcome to stay behind. We have a lovely place. If you're not interested, we decided we're going to do a hike, and not just the usual public entrance hike, which again, I found a little bit too tacky tourist, if I can put it that way. So we have a private guide who's going to take us along the north rim of the crater up here, you'll be able to get a view. It's not a super long walk. It's about, I think the total hike is about 90 minutes and not super strenuous. Because of course we drive up and park way, close to the top of the crater. But again, an amazing way to see. It actually exceeded my expectations. I wasn't sure what to expect from Vesuvius, but it was really quite remarkable. So once again, a great day. And then of course, as always, a free day at your leisure to you can wander around town. You can head down to the beach. If it happens to be a particularly warm day, you might go for a swim at the beach in Vico Equense. It's a great spot there. You could walk up to the nearby mountain, or there's a cable car that you can take from the next town. I did that you get some beautiful views. There's lots of things that you can sort of see and do on your own, and just nice to have a day to sort of chill and enjoy the hotel as well. And just honestly sitting on the sun deck looking out over at Vesuvius and Naples is an experience in and of itself. We will wave goodbye to the Sorrento coast and to Campania and head towards Matera. And so I dropped in a map here. So my marketing colleague will probably shoot me because I didn't exactly follow the rules, but I wanted to show you exactly where we're going. Again, you're familiar with the bottom of the boot, but we're going to be heading here from Sorrento across to the bottom here to Matera, which is actually in the region of Basilicata. So here is Campania, here is Puglia, obviously the heel down here, and this is Basilicata. And Matera is really an interesting town. In Matera, we're going to meet Michela. This is our local guide for the duration of our trip in Puglia. He's an amazing guy. I was really, really impressed with him when I met him on this last trip. He really has a passion to show you the real Puglia, and that's for me, I think, what's going to make it a particularly wonderful experience. Matera, a town a lot of people don't get to because it's a little bit too far from sort of either coast, which is obviously where most people are heading. And I tell you, I was really blown away by this town. It sits in this giant valley, and it's known for its sassi, or its cave dwellings that date back to the 10th century or so. And just the way this whole this whole town was built, into these caves, into the side of the hill. This is one perspective of it. There's so many of them, and we're going to enjoy lunch in here as well, because we've got about a 2.5-3 hour drive from Sorrento to get to Matera. So it'll be a perfect place to stop for lunch, have a tour around. And if anybody is not keen, as you can see, is a bit of hills here, but we can also arrange a little sort of a tuk-tuk type of a tour around town. But otherwise, it's going to be great for a couple of hours exploring. And then we can have a snooze for the last hour and a half to get to Locorotondo, where we're going to spend the next 5 nights here in this amazing masseria that I discovered again on my last trip to Puglia last month. This is an amazing spot. This is a masseria, which is like an agriturismo, like a farm stay, if you will, but a nice farm stay to say the least. This masseria has been in the family for 13 generations, and they maintain it as a lovely little hotel. We're taking the whole place. There's only 8 rooms, that some of which are in the oldest part of the building, and some of them are in these trulli. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the trulli when we talk about Alberobello. And this is Stefania. She is the 12th generation. The 13th generation are her kids that live that occupy, that own this masseria. So a wonderful family. We're going to spend 5 nights here. You can see the town of Locorotondo on the hill in the back. You can actually walk there, and on our day to visit Locorotondo, for those that will, it's about a 20-30 minute walk into Locorotondo, and it's just magical countryside. This, in fact, is Stefania's family, so you can see her folks here. And again, I really got a wonderful sense of this place because you're just in this magical countryside, not far from the town that you can see perched up on a hill. And as I say, we're staying in, traditional style of rooms and accommodations that all have been beautifully appointed, very comfortable. I met some of the guests that were staying there when I visited, and they were just soaking it all in. They were really enjoying this place. So yeah, it'll be a great base for our stay in the Itria Valley. And from here, oops, we skipped forward for a second. We are going to, our first day, visit Alberobello itself. And of course, this is the town that is famous for the Trulli houses, like you see here. This is dry stone, sort of tile roofs that are, basically the predominant form of architecture that you see throughout the Itria Valley, this part of Puglia. And people flock here to Alberobello. It's an amazing town to visit and see the roofs and so on. But, once again, I found that it was so busy. I personally wouldn't want to stay there because you'd be just sort of surrounded by tourists the whole time. Not like we're not the, tourists ourselves, but we're the travelers. So Alberobello, a lovely place to visit for the day. And in the afternoon, actually, we're going to visit a local dairy farm. This is an old friend of Michele's. I visited it as well when I was there, and they're going to give us another demonstration on some of the products, the cheeses that they specifically make for the locals in their community. And a big barbecue is going to be, it'll be another one of those days where you're going to get back to the hotel and say, I think I'm going to stay around and relax this evening. We're also going to head out for our first trip to the Adriatic. So now we'll have gone all the way from the Tyrrhenian Sea in the western side of Italy to the Adriatic on the east. And we're going to visit two towns. One is Monopoli, just almost like the game, but with an I at the end, and Polignano a Mare, which is this town here. I think the picture says it all, set up on the cliffs, these all these little, inns and restaurants, and so dotted along the side of the cliff. This is a magical town to just wander around and explore. I really, really enjoyed it here. I contemplated staying here, but it's not well situated compared to some of the other things that we want to do. So I think it's a great place to visit for a day, and we'll be happy to sort of retreat back to our masseria in the Itria Valley in the afternoon. It's not even far away. It's like 45 minutes away. We are then going to go down visit one of the other highlights of this part of Puglia, which is Ostuni, the so-called white town. As you can see from the photo, it's a hilltop town where most of the buildings are all painted in white. A charming, charming town. We'll visit here in the afternoon after doing a little tour. It's not a big town. Again, once you had a tour for an hour and probably shopping for another hour at least, we'll head over to a little place called Seglia Messapica, which is a nearby, call it a suburb, if you will, that is kind of like known as the foodie capital amongst the locals of the region. So we're going to go there and hit up yet another amazing masseria for some very, very local cuisine. It's not all about eating on our trips, but let's face it, those who've been along before know that we put a lot of effort into finding some amazing places to dine. We will have a free day in Locorotondo. So this is the town again that we can see from our masseria. And we'll either wander in, or we'll, for those that wish, we'll take a little minibus into town and have lunch. It's a compact little hilltop town, but it's got some amazing little shops and cafes and bars, a great way to spend the day. If anybody wants to go a little further afield, they have these incredible caverns that are about a 45-minute drive away. Grotte di Castellana, it's called, which is one of the most famous caverns, with all the stalactites and stalagmites in the southern part of Italy. So we can arrange that as well. You can go e-biking, you can just go for a walk in the countryside, or you could just hang out with Stefania and her family at the masseria. All perfectly valid options. So after Locorotondo, we will wave goodbye to our host family in the Masseria April, and we will head down to Lecce. So one more time, the map. So we're here. We visited all these places in and around the Val d'Itria, and we're going to head down to Lecce, which is the most southern big city in Puglia. So again, we're very close to the heel. Lecce is, of course, known as one of Europe's foremost Baroque cities. And I find particularly at night, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to stay in Lecce, because I was sort of debating, should we stay here? But I tell you, walk around Lecce in the evening with all of these sort of almost yellowish, street lights lighting up these Baroque buildings. It's incredible. So we will spend a couple of nights here in Lecce at a lovely, lovely, lovely hotel that I found when I was there, a little palazzo. and we will visit all of the Baroque architecture that you can find there. As I say, this ranks right up there with Vienna and Copenhagen and so on, and Noto for those that come with us on our Sicily program to Siracusa as being an amazing Baroque town. Also, we'll have a chance to, if we haven't already, try one of Puglia's signature pastas, which is orecchietta, the little ears. You've probably seen these before, but I can tell you, you probably haven't tasted them as good as they are in Puglia, where these things come from. One more day in the region, which will be Otranto, our final day. This is on the east coast of Puglia, and this is a lovely town similar to Polignano that I showed you before, that sort of sits up on a cliff. It's got an amazing cathedral with this massive, the picture doesn't do it justice, but this incredible mosaic floor. And again, a lovely town with little shops and a great place to meander around and look out at the beautiful blue Adriatic Sea. But I think the highlight will be the afternoon. We are going on, as our farewell activity and dinner, we're going on a truffle hunting experience with a local truffle master and his dog, and they're going to show us the process of actually going out and locating and raising up the truffles out of the earth, and then we're going to take those back and have a little bit gourmet dinner to round off our trip in Puglia and across southern Italy. And I think at that point you'll say, wow, that was an amazing trip. I'm really so excited about this. As I say, we've taken great pains. It's I spent a good couple of weeks there this past spring between Puglia and Amalfi, really getting to know the place and to bring you a terrific program in southern Italy. So a couple of details for you, and all of this, of course, is in our program itinerary. If you haven't got a copy already from our newsletter, we will definitely send you one. Pricing here, of course, in Canadian dollars, with all of the inclusions here, which is some lovely hotels and the masseria. So as it says here, 10 nights accommodation in hotels that I've all handpicked. It's a 5-star hotel in Vico Equense, and it is a very nice, I'm not sure what the star rating is in Lecce, but a beautiful hotel in Lecce, and of course the masseria itself, and all of our guides, as I mentioned, and so on and so on and so forth. As per usual. The only thing that's extra, of course, airfare and insurance, which we recommend. Airfares, you're looking to get in and out of Naples or into Naples and out of Brindisi. Although if I were you and interested in coming on this trip, I would contemplate going from Lecce, perhaps somewhere else, perhaps taking the train back to Rome, spending a couple of days in Rome, and then you can fly from Rome, obviously nonstop, back to Toronto, or perhaps going to some other place in Italy and touring a little bit. However, you can fly in and out of Brindisi, which is the closest airport to Lecce and to Locorotondo. For those who sign on early, we have again been able to offer our early booking bonus for those who sign up before the 15th of August. So that's an extra $500 off. And now it's time for questions and answers. And I think a few have come in already, Paula. So
yes, this has been a highly anticipated trip. So, yeah. So I'll start with a question that's come in here from Harriet. She's asked if she was already in Sorrento, can we split the trip? I don't.
Not at this point.
Yeah.
Because I think there's so many people that want to do both that we can check closer to. But the problem is we are very limited on accommodation in this because of the hotels that we've selected. So we are offering it as a complete program at this time. Maybe another time, if there's enough demand for it, we can do that. But for this trip, I think we have to do the whole thing.
Awesome. Someone was asking, you mentioned about the add-on for Sicily. Are there any other combinations? And Gordon, I don't know if you have them off the top of your head, but I just looked up a few. So if you want, I can answer that.
Yeah, you can answer it. So I know that for sure before this trip, you have Sicily, you have Cefalù specifically on the North Coast. After this, you have Florence. Also after this, you have, I'm going to say
Azores.
Azores. So you could go to the Azores.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, and perhaps, no, that's not going to quite fit because this trip is too long for to do do Corsica. So anyway, if you're interested in some other combinations, I think we can give you the full calendar and let you know.
Yes, they can reach out to us. Another question that came in here was with regards to what the weather is in the different regions in the south,
Yeah, well,
going from west to east. What should
yeah,
people
so
do?
the weather is remarkably similar between Campania and Puglia at this time of the year. April typically is in the high teens. So the weather typically in April has already turned nice and is sort of between sort of 17 to usually topping out at 20, could get a little bit warmer. That's what we normally expect. I will say this year, when we were in Sorrento, it was a little cooler and a little wetter than normal. And in fact, locals were quite surprised because winter sort of lasted a long time in southern Italy, but that didn't really affect our trip. I think we had a great time anyway, but that's uncommon. It's usually that. And the same thing in Puglia. The weather is I think optimal for this kind of touring because it's about as much in the shoulder season as you can go. If you go a lot earlier, it's too chilly and everything's closed. So we're going at the perfect time, just when everything's blooming and getting going. So again, same temperatures in Puglia.
Perfect. I have another question that's coming here from Ethel. She's become a big fan of Todd and is wondering if Todd is going to be the host on this trip.
Possible, but unlikely. We haven't assigned the hosts for the trips yet next year. I know Todd is going to be hosting our Gardens of England and France trip, which we're going to be releasing next week in May. So the chance of him doing this one as well is perhaps we have great hosts. They're all great. So don't worry. It's be somebody just as good as Todd. But thank you.
That's what I'd say. Yeah, each of our members that have traveled with specific hosts seem to always ask for them again. So if that's any indication, you're in good hands with everyone.
Indeed.
Perfect. That was the only questions I've had come in so far.
Okay, good. Well, I think we covered the main topics. Obviously, probably questions will come. This is a great shot of Matera, by the way, where you can see this canyon down the side, and I love this town. Yeah, if you do have any other questions, as I say, drop us a note. Paula, Barb, always happy to answer questions. If they don't know the answer, then they'll come to me, and if I don't know the answer, I'll come to Ornella or Michela or one of our.
We can get the answer. Yeah,
we can get the answer. We can get the answer. So on that note, thank you so much for joining us. And if you are interested in our Tuscany and San Marino sojourn, we will be starting that webinar in about 27 minutes time. So please do join us for that. We thought we would do a double header of Italy today, I should say. And so do we have the...
I'm just grabbing it quickly. Sorry, I wasn't...
That's okay. I meant to send you a message before to say, let's put that webinar link up there
here,
in case.
I've got it. So for anyone on here, ooh, that's sorry, give me 1 second. That's not going to be.
Cancel that. Not that one.
Yeah. Oh, actually, sorry, Gordon. I don't have access to message everyone, so I just popped in the link.
Oh,
but I
okay.
don't know
Sorry,
if you're able to.
Here, I'll do that. All right.
I forgot to.
No problem. No,
couple days of vacation, and I
everything falls apart.
out of sync.
There we go. Okay, so we put the link to the next webinar in the chat box. If you need it, please do join us. Otherwise, we'll see you for one of our upcoming webinars that are starting again on Monday next week. And I will be in Chiang Mai, Thailand, bringing you the next webinar. So we'll see you from there. And thanks again for joining us today. I hope you'll consider coming with us to Southern Italy next year. As I say, it's a really awesome trip. Take care. See you soon.